Well, coming up on today's show, Mercedes could supply vans to Tesla. The Model 3 does cost $35,000 after savings. And the luxury BMW 7 Series plug-in is launched. And boy, oh boy, it's a lovely car. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. In fact, wherever you are in the world, welcome to EV News Daily. It's Thursday, the 7th of February. My name is Martin Lee, and I've been through every EV story I can find today. I picked out the ones I think you need to know about. It is a bumper show today, the longest word count I've had in a few weeks. There is so much amazing news going on, and so much that I'm just not getting time to talk about as well. So look, less opinion from me on today's show, more just reading you the news and giving you the information. If you want to connect with me on the socials, we can have a chat about what you think, reaction to this, and then maybe we'll do it this way, because otherwise I'm going to run long today. Thank you to MyEV.com, as always, for helping make this show. MyEV.com is the world's first marketplace all about buying and selling electric vehicles. If you fancy doing some window shopping, maybe for a purchase later in the year, or maybe you're ready to go now, check it out, MyEV.com. Another day, another Patreon supporter. Another day that I'm enormously grateful. I can't believe how lucky I am to have people like Bruno supporting the show. Bruno Ariola. Bruno, a new podcast producer. Thank you so much for signing up and adding your name to the list of heroes on Patreon. Patreon.com/EV News Daily. This show is entirely funded by almost 200 listeners now who are helping me make a change and spread the word and hopefully persuade a couple of people this year to drive an electric car and clean up the air around them. Hi to Trevor in Washington, who asked me about the future shipments of the Tesla Model 3s after I was reporting on yesterday's show about the first shipload to be delivered yesterday. As far as I know, all of the Model 3s, S's and X's are now off the Glovis Captain, which docked in Zeebrugge. They're now all off the ship and they're heading their way to the customers that have been waiting for their Model 3s. Not that I have found any on Twitter that have actually had their delivery within the last few hours. I wonder how long it'll be for them to prep the cars. Man, I'm excited, and I'm not even a reservation holder. I'm like, I always say, hey, I let you know that I drive a Renault Zoe, in case you think I'm ever biased. I haven't got my £1,000 down on a Tesla Model 3 or any other car, in case you ever think I'm saying, I don't know, I've got some inherent biases built in, so I absolutely haven't. Now, Trevor in Washington was asking me about the other boats that are heading. He tried to get an idea of numbers that are coming. Well, Glovis Captain was the first boat, followed by Glovis Cosmos, Grand Aurora, CSCC Europe, Glovis Courage is the next one to leave, and the Morning Cindy ship is on her way to Shanghai. If you know any more about that, then email me and I'll pass it on to everyone listening. My email address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. It's always nice when the listeners do the work for me. It means I can kick back and put my feet up. Yeah, I wish. It's still hard work, but it's nice when I get emails and messages from the likes of Sasha. Now, Sasha Pallenberg was tweeting this morning about the Daimler CEO, Dieter Zetsche, and something that he said about a potential partnership with Tesla. And now, Sasha is a partner of the podcast and supports me on Patreon enormously kindly. It may have been in German, the event this morning, but Sasha did the translation, and he says, our CEO, Dieter Zetsche, just confirmed during the annual Daimler press conference that Tesla is interested in our Mercedes-Benz e-Sprinter for its service fleet. Ongoing talks. Very, very interesting. So we are talking about the e-Sprinter here. Jerome Guillem is Tesla's president of automotive. He is former Daimler. On the Tesla earnings call, Elon Musk said his focus was on improving servicing and customer service, including the Tesla Ranger service. Now, most recently, I've seen pictures online, and I'm not sure we have them in the UK yet, but I've seen pictures online of using converted Model S's, but this would be using a proper electric van and, of course, having a lot more spare parts, more tools, more stock in the back of these vans. This sounds like a supply deal for Tesla to use the Mercedes-Benz vans rather than a collaboration, from what I understand from what Mercedes-Benz was saying this morning. The e-Sprinter has a 55 kilowatt-hour pack, and that gives it a 93-mile range or 150 kilometers. That might not be enough for Tesla's Ranger service. Let me remind you of an Elon Musk tweet from the 19th of November last year, which I dug out, and he said this: "Lot on our plate, so it either lot on our plate. So it's either get van gliders, no battery, powertrain or compute tech from Daimler and produce sooner, or do all and produce later. Not a big difference to total vehicles produced either way. Priority list is Model Y. Solar roof tiles, pickup semi-roadster. Then he continued in another tweet, and I quote, "May be interesting to work with Daimler Mercedes on an electric Sprinter. It's a great van. We will inquire." So back in November, he was talking about getting vans from Mercedes-Benz and putting the Tesla drivetrain in. Then, as I understand it, this is more of a supply deal where they're just getting the vans that have been made by Mercedes-Benz. But that's, as far as I understand it, this isn't a collaboration where Mercedes are providing the gliders and Tesla put the tech in. My only doubt, I'm going to contradict myself now, is the battery pack, 55 kilowatt hours. Is that enough? Is that enough for a Tesla Ranger to be out all day? Would it be better to buy gliders from Mercedes, put your own battery pack in that's maybe the Tesla Model 3 long-range pack using the 2170 cells, the Tesla drivetrain from the Model 3, and of course, that means you can supercharge then at any of those Tesla superchargers or destination chargers, and it makes the Ranger service more of a Tesla thing, rather than having to build their own platform. And they're busy making the Model Y and other things as well. Just a question. I'm still maybe 70-30 thinking they're just going to buy some e-sprinters, but, leave the door open for me to be wrong. I mean, that's just generally good advice anyway. Right, let's move on to the Model 3. Not long ago, Tesla reduced its prices by $2,000 in an attempt to assist buyers after the US federal tax credit entered its sunset phase, says Inside EVs. Now, the Model 3 mid-range arrived. When it first arrived, it was $46,000. That $46,000 dropped to $44,000, and today it's dropped again. $42,900. Tesla's moving ever closer to that $35,000 price point. But bearing in mind, this is the mid-range one. This isn't the standard range Model 3 that got cheaper today, because there is no standard range Model 3. The base model has yet to arrive. As for the rest of the Model 3 lineup, the long-range dual motor is $49,900, and the performance is now $60,900. In reply to a question on the above Twitter thread, Elon Musk said Tesla is doing everything it can to get the $35,000 base Model 3 on the market. Elon Musk then tweeted, "The car starts at $35,000 if you take into account $8,000 of credits and fuel savings." And I must admit, Tesla do this, and I don't like it. Not because I don't think they're trying to pull a fast one, but when you go to the Tesla website, maybe you haven't done it recently, and you do some window shopping, like I do all the time, and then you think, well, that'd be a nice car to buy. The price it gives you is not the price of the car, of the S or the X or the 3. It's the price they think that you'll end up paying after fuel savings, based on some assumptions of how much you would have been spending on gas. Then at the bottom, if you scroll right down at the bottom, it'll tell you the actual price. But the big price on the right-hand side that kind of scrolls with you on the page, the one that jumps out at you, is not the actual price. It's that weird assumption they make of what they think it's worth. I don't like that. I don't think they're pulling a fast one, because you can, if you go right to the bottom of the page, you can find the price. It's just not my... Anyway, this podcast was meant to be less opinion and more about the news. Let's move on. After Volkswagen gave China an all-new Passat last year and the United States a not-so-new Passat last month, it's now Europe's turn to get the refreshed Volkswagen Passat, according to a Motor1.com article. The plug-in hybrid Passat, the GTE, is back. And now I think it had left the market, or it hasn't been on sale, or you couldn't get one for a while here in the UK. Very interesting plug-in hybrid tech like the Golf GTE and the Passat GTE. Of course, the Passat is a mid-size sedan. It's got loads of room in there for storage and families and buggies and things like that. It's been updated, and now it can do 34 miles on pure electric. That's 55 Ks on pure electric, and that's the realistic WLTP cycle, says Adrian Padno for Motor1.com. For the sake of comparison, Before the facelift, it would only do 31 miles. So you've got a bump there from 31 to 34 miles, or from 50 to 55 Ks. That was measured under the old NEDC, though, that 31 miles, and that was very, very optimistic. So it has had a bump. I don't know the actual kilowatt hours of the new battery pack. I'm looking it up, trying to find out in the new Passat GTE, a car that, if you're not ready to go full electric, and I think you should give it a go, consider it for your life. But if someone really isn't ready to go all electric, then the VW GTEs, the Golf and the Passat, they are the car that you are just used to being in, just a very solid, well-built luxury VW, and it happens to have a battery. And you can put it in battery mode, and it's nice and silent, and actually pretty darn quick when both the engine and the battery work together. But your commuting miles can be done on battery power alone. Of course, hybrids need to be charged in the right way and not blocking rapids and things like that, or at least done considerately and staying with the car, so that if someone turns up in a pure electric car and they're desperate for a charge, you stay with your vehicle. You can, if you're on a 50 kilowatt charger, for instance, and this has got maybe now I'm guessing, so don't sue me, VW, I'm guessing it would have like a 3.6 kilowatt onboard charger. I'm guessing. Correct me. Or maybe I could just, use a thing called Google and look it up. Sorry, I'll move on. Let's talk about BMW. BMW's revealed the new plug-in hybrid version of its 7 Series saloon. We're talking 7 Series here. We are talking big luxury. You can even get the 7 Series stretched as well, so that if you are being chauffeured, if that's the kind of stratosphere that you work and live in, and you have a driver, bit of extra legroom. Lovely, very luxurious car. You sit inside the BMW 7 Series, and I only have not even the current model. It was a little while ago. I was last in the 7 Series, and it's just, you just feel, I know that I shouldn't be so shallow as, a car can make me feel good, but you do though, don't you? When you sit in a car like that and think, wow, I feel great. I feel special sitting in this car. It's an amazing car, and it's got a plug on it, and it's the new luxury limo, available very soon, starting at £76,000. It's not a cheapie. James Fosdyke, for the UK version of Motor1.com, says that money gets you the standard wheelbase 745E. Now, the 745E X-Drive has a 3-litre, 6-cylinder petrol engine, and an electric motor with 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, 155 miles an hour, electronically limited top speed. A larger battery than the old 7 Series, so this one will do 34 to 36 miles on electric power alone. And the car also uses the 8-speed automatic gearbox as a generator for the battery. It takes the energy otherwise wasted, the regen, the deceleration, and it recharges the battery, and it further exploits the zero-emission potential of one of these cars. Of course, the big thing about it is, if you get the long wheelbase version, if you're being driven around, for instance, and you've got 35, 36 miles of all-electric power, the best thing about it is the silence, the luxury, the almost the opulence of just wafting around. And it's like when we eventually get around to making electric Rolls Royces, it's just going to make so much sense, because that class of car deserves to be dead quiet. I mean, they've got so good over the years of silencing the engines in these things and just packing them full of soundproofing. You don't necessarily need to do that when the drivetrain will be all electric. But for now, that electric motor will do a very interesting job of persuading people maybe then their next car should be all electric. Hey, here's the interesting thing about performance. I wasn't going to give my opinion too much on this show. Here's my take on the performance of that. 0 to 60, 5.1 seconds. The Tesla Model S is 3 points. What is it? If you don't spec ludicrous, you're in the 3s. And it's one of those things that until they start, you're always going to be playing second best to a car in that price range. Okay, you can't compare a BMW 7 Series, the luxury of it, with the high-tech nature of a Model S. They're different cars. The performance side of it, though, these big, what would have been enormously quick 5-second 0 to 60 luxury cars, they're just getting bested. And that's an interesting thing when someone comes to spend their own money. Anyway, let's move on. Staying with BMW, though, and they showed off their iNext electric crossover packed full of design and high-tech features last fall, and the company has promised it for 2021. We figured we wouldn't see it for much of a while, but instead BMW just released some images of the production model undergoing cold weather testing. Now, they're doing it in Sweden, says autoblog.com. The front fascia is more upright, the grille is more upright, and the hood is flatter. The sharper transition between the two doesn't necessarily, to my tiny brain, look good for aerodynamics and EV. If it's because this is a pure EV, by the way, pure electric power, fully electric, all-wheel drive. The front of it just looks like a big slab of car hitting the air, which is not good for efficiency, which is the key, the golden thing with EVs. Let's move on. I'm meant to be reading you the news today. I should keep chipping in with what I think of things. Let's talk about Lagonda. Since the Lagonda brand's revival in 2011, we've seen only a hint of what the British luxury firm is capable of. Last year's Vision concept, revealed at the Geneva Motor Show, was pretty special. According to Evo magazine, at this year's show, we're going to see another, much clearer indication of Lagonda's intentions with an all-terrain concept car. A car that will eventually, they say, go into production. It's a solitary teaser image that I've seen today, and it shows the all-terrain Lagonda taking design cues from last year's concept car. It's clearly taller and more imposing than the low-slung one-box Vision. We learned last year that Lagonda's first two all-electric production cars will share a platform with the Aston Martin DBX, itself an SUV, with an electric motor per wheel, allowing for full torque vectoring. 4 electric motors on this, and some impressive performance figures are bound to be just around the corner. Talking of impressive performance, the Porsche Taycan is coming very soon, expanding its Porsche charging service. In the meantime, whilst buyers are waiting to get their cars, you can now enjoy an enhanced charging service from Porsche, launched last May, giving 5 countries access to 49,000 charging points under one single contract and a single billing point through your Porsche ID or smartphone app. Says Mark Kane at Inside EVs. In Germany, the fee for using the Porsche service is a £2.50 or €2.50, it would be in Germany, subscription cost. The costs for charging come on top of that, and it depends on the provider that you happen to turn up at and the amount of power that you charge. The prices are shown in detail when you come to charge, and according to the power class and the charging speed, if that comes into the pricing of it as well. Now, the app can be used on any mobile device running iOS or Android, and the service is generally available. What I mean is it's generally available to all drivers of EVs and hybrids, plug-in hybrids. It's not limited to Porsche sports cars. Registration is possible via a link that I'm going to put in the show notes. I have tried to register for that this evening, and when you go to the link that Porsche sent, it takes you to a page, the Porsche Connect page, where you can obviously sign up. But first of all, you have to tick which Porsche you own. The Taycan is not one of those options. And then, so you're picking 911 or any of the other Porsches that are on sale, but of course none of them are electric. And so it doesn't give you the box for signing up to the charging service. It just gives you the usual options of sat-nav. Oh, by the way, as I was doing this, Porsche drivers, they have to pay an annual subscription fee, and they split it all out. So there is one annual subscription fee for app access, if you want to flash your light, sound the horn, and see where your car is. There's a fee for data access. There's a fee for sat-nav. There's a fee, there was like 4 or 5 boxes where each annual subscription was between about 80 and 200 a year for these things that you just get them with a Tesla. You buy a Model S. You don't have to pay an extra 100 and something a year, whatever it was, for app access. Wow. Well, Porsche buyers aren't short of a pound or two, are they? Now, moving on to ride sharing and your chances of riding in an EV just increased. Lyft users, if you haven't heard of Lyft, a bit like Uber, Lyft users can soon request an EV or a hybrid vehicle when they come to book their Lyft service from the app, according to Sasha Lekach for Mashable. Mashable saying that the new setting on the Lyft app gives passengers the option to request an EV and get matched with a full EV or hybrid for their ride. It's being rolled out after this pilot project in Seattle is done. That's great news. I was talking about it last weekend on the podcast, saying it'd be nice. I took an Uber in London, and unless I'd missed an option, because I'd read that it was coming, there's the new surcharge in this country that Uber adds. So in London, you pay your ride fee, and now there's a surcharge for it's a clean air fee or something it's called, which is fine. And I was hoping to be able to find an option to book at least a hybrid or an EV, but I couldn't find that. Maybe that'll be coming down the road. Great news for Lyft, though. If you're listening in Seattle, give it a go. Let me know. Does it work? Now, DHL, the delivery company DHL, is preparing to roll out a brand new fleet of electric delivery vans. Serving the US, the fleet of 63 cargo vans are produced by Workhorse. The Workhorse Group, who we've talked about a lot on the podcast before, they're building some really safe and efficient last-mile delivery trucks. Capable of doing 100 miles on a single charge, they have ultra-low floors to reduce the stress on the drivers' backs and knees, and a high roof design to maximise the cargo space. Well done, DHL. That's great news. Couple more stories then, and first of all, this is to do with Honda buying some battery capacity. CATL, Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited. CATL make batteries, and they've signed a cooperation agreement with Honda in Tokyo to cooperate formally to develop EVs for future markets, says Green Car Congress. Under the agreement, CATL will become Honda's partner in the field of lithium-ion EV batteries. CATL will guarantee the supply to Honda of, in total, about 56 gigawatt hours of lithium-ion EV batteries by 2027. I don't even know how many cars or vehicles that translates to, because you don't know the battery size, or even a ballpark of 56 gigawatt hours. It sounds a lot, doesn't it? CATL currently uses NCM technology as a core material. So that's nickel, cobalt, manganese. Everyone's got their own take on the different chemistries in their cells. Energy density can be as high as 240 watt hours a kilogram. Honda makes an excellent plug-in hybrid, by the way. We can't get it here, but it's called the Clarity, and it's got really good range, 47 miles, almost as good as a Chevy Volt. Sadly, the Volt is being discontinued next month in March. I don't know any Volt owners who don't love that car, so it's a real shame. The battery technology in the Volt, by the way, is superseded by some of the more modern technologies in terms of the density, like we were saying, of those batteries. So this is really good news. Right on Honda. I thought Honda were firmly going to just go straight to hydrogen vehicles and miss out on the EV boom. And until today's news, I was kind of worried. I'm a big fan of Honda. Ideologically, the Japanese are really wedded to the idea of hydrogen power. I think both on a policy, on a governmental policy level, on a car maker level as well, they're the ones that talk the most about hydrogen technology and how they see it as suitable everywhere. Others talk about it being suitable for bigger applications, ships and boats, trains, even flight maybe, where batteries would be too heavy. Whereas the Japanese manufacturers talk it up all the time. So this is good news that Honda are finally getting on board with EVs. And anyway, even if they are going to try hydrogen cars, as Toyota keep trying, people forget hydrogen cars need a battery. So if you're going to have a battery, because all the hydrogen does is make electricity, which then goes into the battery. It's a smaller battery, but goes into the battery waiting to be used, and it's the same drivetrain that drives the wheels is similar technology to an EV. So if you're going to have an electric motor and a battery, just do away with tanks of compressed gas sitting just inches away from you. In my opinion, I'm probably wrong. Finally, motorsport.com's Scott Mitchell has been reporting on the ex-Formula One driver Stoffel Vandoorne, and he says he is loving racing electric cars in Formula E this season. He follows a couple of years in Formula One where it didn't really work out for him. It's the first bump in his career. Stoffel Vandoorne had a meteoric rise and is an immense driver. The difference in cultures and camaraderie between the drivers and the paddock politics is something that Stoffel told motorsport.com he doesn't miss. He really likes being around the Formula E paddock, doesn't miss all those politics that come with Formula One. He now races in Formula E for HWA. HWA are next year, I don't know, next year could well be rebranded as a full Mercedes Works outfit, but for this year they're HWA. Now Stoffel Vandoorne is also dovetailing his commitments in Formula E with Mercedes Formula One simulator work, so he's gone from racing McLaren's Formula One cars to being the simulator driver for Mercedes F1, and he hopes his move to HWA will facilitate a long-term future in Formula E if indeed the Daimler board do decide to go ahead with a full-on works team in Formula E next year. That's happening, isn't it? That's happening? That's happening? I forget what I've heard, officially, unofficially, read. What's rumour, what's fact? I don't know. The brain's getting old, I forget. Hey, let's talk about question of the week this week. Thanks to myev.com, they've sent us a brilliant question of the week. Keep your comments coming in. Email's the best way to do it, but you can use the comments section of YouTube and Facebook. It's this. Which incentives, beside those already available where you live, which incentives do you want to see implemented by automakers and dealers to promote EVs? My email address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. There are 178 patrons of the podcast whose generosity I never take for granted. I'm enormously grateful. I'm humbled that you support this show. Almost 200 people put their hand in their pocket and make this show happen. Thank you so much. Everything's growing. All the stats are going up. More and more people are saying, I've just found you, and I'm binge listening in my car, walking my dog, in the gym, on my commute, and learning about EVs, being part of the community as well, just as we all did when we first started to get interested and what's this plug and what's a hybrid and not. Everyone has their first moments of getting it, but it's so amazing to make this show, to do it with the Patreon support. patreon.com/evnewsdaily, and together you and I can spread the word wider around the world about this awesome move to sustainable transport. There are 380 shows online now for free. If you want to have a look where you get your podcasts from, you can subscribe to get future ones first and free and automatically. If you can leave a little review anytime, that'd be amazing. If you want to catch up on the socials, just search EV News Daily. In the meantime, from a wet and windy and very cold south coast of the UK, do have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow.